And I got involved in every single group, every single Bible study group, every teen group, every young professionals for Christians. I don't know, whatever it is. I got involved in it. Whatever there was, I was involved. I became a counselor. I started giving Bible study groups, and I became a junior missionary, so they gave me smicha. And I found myself really on this like really serious spiritual high, and I had read my Bible so much that like, you know when you take a highlighter, you want to highlight important things, like I highlighted the whole thing. So it was like no point in me even highlighting it anymore. Complete Bible thumper. And before you know it, I had half of my high school at the minimum going to all the different programs. And I was the outreach kid. I became the poster child, and that was that. All meanwhile playing music, all meanwhile still recording, playing football and also recording music. So I started releasing mixtapes just locally around my high school, which started spreading to all the different high schools. And then all of a sudden, one of my mixtapes makes it to the desk of an A&R from Virgin Records. So this Virgin, you know, A&R is like a big stuff. Talent Scout, a major record label calls you. This is like your whole dream. So we started having these amazing conversations about all these what ifs. What if you did this? What if you did that? Now, if anybody kept a pulse on hip hop back then, which you guys are probably all babies, you never heard of a guy named 50 Cent before. Most people know him because the name was just so ridiculous. It wasn't like that great. His name was just so ridiculous. And he was gangster. 50 was gangster. So what happened was, since 50 was the biggest thing in music at that time, none of the record labels wanted to like create anything new, right? He basically has shattered all the pop rap, everything that went back to this super gangster rap. And so one of the things that A&R started asking me, maybe you can, you know, toughen it up a little bit, you know? Now this was nothing culturally out of bounds for me. I knew this very well. I grew up with it very well, you know, wasn't out of bounds. But at this point in my life, I told the guy like this, you know what, I'm very, very devout to my religion. You know, these things are way out of bounds for me. It's not who I am, you know. If you like my music, you can take it, or you can leave it, but this goes against my morals. I said, okay. They sent over a proposal of a contract that had a lot of money on it, and I sent in demos cursing, gangster rap, everything that you could possibly think of. I switched the tune completely. It wasn't as fast as that, but it was a slow process of me trying to, you know, make it a little bit tough, a little bit something, but I totally sold out to where I wanted to be at the time. Totally sold out. And the most interesting thing about it is because when you portray a street life, and I thought originally at the time, I'm just going to put out these songs, but I'm not really going to, this is not really who I am, right? Now what happened was, I put out the music and then I became so confused. Okay. I became so confused about who I was as an individual that I had, you know, by this time I should also mention, I met in between my 10th grade year and my 11th grade year, I met the love of my life. My wife is my high school sweetheart. We're still together, Baruch Hashem, to this day. So real love does exist. You just have to wait on it. I'll go pray at my house. I ended up meeting my wife, and my house is the most beautiful thing the greatest thing that's ever happened to me was meeting my wife, Baruch Hashem. But she was like a church-going girl, goody two-shoes or whatever. And slowly, as I'm making the hip-hop and the sound is changing, more and more of my old guys are starting to come back into my inner circle. So you can imagine the level of confusion that I'm being when I'm with them. I'm on stage with 30 guys in the back with the pants down to here, bandanas or whatever. And inside, I'm not even really feeling this. But then when I'm around her, I'm not like that. And I found myself completely confused. Another shocking and troubling thing that would happen to me, which I think originally was probably the biggest thing that opened up my sensitivity and made me sensitive enough to somewhat hear Hashem's voice when he called, not audibly, but when Hashem was ready to call. I lost my mother. I remember I was in the studio late one night. My mother had addiction to narcotics. She, you know, as long as back as I can remember, she wasn't into all the rest of the drugs, but she got into painkillers, and it was so hard growing up like this, seeing your mother dozing off in the middle of conversations, in the public, and all, you know, whatever. So one particular night, I was on the phone, I remember, with my girlfriend, who's my wife now. She hates when I say girlfriend. And I'm just like, listen, baby, that's how you started. But when I was saying it to her, I told her, I said, hon, I feel like one day she's not going to wake up. And literally that morning she did not wake up. My mother died, overdosed in my bed. And I remember the pain. After experiencing that pain, I was crippled. Some people get upset, they get so overly emotional. I felt just paralyzed. I just felt like I couldn't move. My limbs couldn't move. I was beat, and I wasn't upset. I wasn't angry. I was just so hurt, so heartbroken. I was shattered. And shortly after this, I ended up going to New York, trying to get more things happen. I had this deal on the table with him. I tried to make even more things happen. It got out that there was 2 or 3 labels that I met with. And by the time I got back to Seattle, everybody pulled out on me. So now I have this new persona, this harder sound, and I have no label that I'm going to go put it out with, so we decided to do it independently. So we didn't know how much of an impact we were going to make. We just thought we'd sell some CDs on the corner, go get kicked out of the malls, go get kicked out of the movie theaters, any public place for soliciting. We went, did that, and it started really spreading. Fast. My name started going very, very fast. It started going viral, and there was no real social media. There was like MySpace, but you guys probably never heard of that. So, but there was no real social media for it to really go out. There was a newspaper start picking up. Oh, this is the son of hip-hop legend, this and this one. And I started becoming, known for my yichus. So it was a very interesting thing how this starts to go out. And as much as you get in love, you always got to have some hate. So there was one rapper who decided himself that he would make a diss record towards me because he wanted to get himself out there. And unfortunately, the guys that I was around weren't just rapping about the gangster stuff. So when they got wind of the song that was brought to me, I thought maybe I'd make another diss record back. My boy comes in and says, listen, if we just go beat the guy up, he won't make any more songs. Push it. It's very, very simple. So we went with his idea. We ended up at a nightclub, found this guy, and by the time I got up there with the guys that I was with, we were already like the third hard guys to come and beat him up. So he had already been in 2 other fights, 2 scuffles by the time we got up there. Reason being, even though I was in the streets, I was always still very a person of peace. I was bringing people together. I was never going out starting stuff. I found my fair share of altercations, but everybody knew me, even in the streets, as really a peaceful guy. So the guys that I was with were super overprotective of me, super duper overprotective of me. So we ended up going up there. We get into this brawl outside the nightclub, not inside, outside. And after that, the police come, break up everything, and then we all go our separate way. So I ended up going back downtown to the city. And when I'm there, my phone rings. I get a call from another producer that I knew from the city. And he says to me, the police are looking for you. And I'm thinking, why would the police be looking for me? For fighting outside. I was thinking inside, and damn, it's a property. Why would the police be looking for me? So he says, no, they're saying you had a gun and you were shooting at the club and all this other stuff, a complete fabrication. But when in doubt, you run. So I started running. I left out of the building, and I just listen. It's just one of those things, I'm being honest. You culturally grow up like this. You run. You hear police. You did nothing, didn't do nothing. Have license, insurance, whatever. You get scared behind the police are behind you. It just is what it is. You grow up with a certain stigma, a certain fear, even if you did nothing. So, but anyway, I ended up going downstairs. I'm running on my way to the car. And I see all these lights, the police lights flashing down the way. So I'm looking to try to see, what's going on, being nosy. Now, I probably lost all my street cred like this, because we see sirens and go the other way. I start walking towards the sirens. That would not probably give me any street cred. Anyway, so I start going closer and closer as I'm looking, seeing all these lights, and it's a lot of commotion. So I see that it's one of my really, really close friends, and they're putting him in cuffs, and they're putting him in. It was like him and 5 other guys. I don't know how they all fit in the 2-seater, but anyway. But they put them all inside the back of the car. They leave. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So I get back to my spot, and I get a call saying that after you left, Faye went up and he shot up the club. And I'm like, oh my goodness, did he kill anybody? So it turns out he went to go and try to kill the guy that I got into it with. And he was a horrible shot. He shot everything except for the guy. Fire hydrant, pole, curb, everything got it, except for a human. So he ends up going to jail, and now I have a bigger dilemma, because now they think that I just sent somebody to go and kill them. So it puts me in an awkward situation now. If I don't go and take this other person's life, he's gonna come and take my life. And I remember sitting in my living room and thinking, and my whole life just flashing before me, trying to figure out, how did I get here? After all that I did to try to keep myself out of trouble and to change my life, how did I get back into a worse situation than what I'd ever been in before? And I fell to my knees and I started praying. I really started crying out to God. From that perspective of who I knew God was, I started crying, begging for some other way. And my miracle was, and it wasn't Chanukah, but it's probably a little bit after, it was Tavis or something. But my miracle was that maybe after 3 days or so, crying, praying, begging for some other way, because I didn't have it in me to go and take another person's life. I'll rap about it, but I didn't really have it in me. And after 3 days, my phone rings, and it turns out that it's the other guy. Now, you don't understand unless you grow up in the hood how much of a miracle it is, because nobody ever calls you to check if you're trying to kill them or not. It's just not a kasha. You're going to get on the phone. It's not a kasha. It's not. Because like, I just wondered, maybe you're trying to kill me, and just want to know if I should be prepared. You're not going to get that call, right? So the fact that this person decided to call me made me realize that God is listening to my prayers. So we have a conversation. It was a rough one. We get off the phone peacefully, and I realized I got another chance. There's another chance again. So I stayed home. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I had to figure something out. So I stayed home, and I prayed, and I cried. I thank God for that opportunity. And all this praying and all this other stuff is just making me so sensitive spiritually that I'm looking over, and I went and grabbed my Bible, and I started reading it again. And as I'm reading the Bible, I'm starting to notice things that I never really noticed before. So I'm starting to notice that a lot of the verses that I heard in the Christian groups and Bible studies and different things like that, that I was understanding that maybe we're talking about me or the church, was not. It was talking about God and his relationship with the Jewish people. So now I'm starting to have a whole new perspective of the Bible, and now I need to start off. So I started asking questions, which were originally questions that I had even in Bible study group that were never really answered properly. Well, if Jesus was Jewish, how come Christians are not Jewish? And when did it break off? Which religion was first? When did Islam come into the picture? So I wanted to know how everything was. So I started studying it. I started going to the root of everything you can, to dedicate all the Apocryphal books, the church fathers. I went to go dig it up completely. I was investigating everything. I'm ordering books. Now, mind you, I'm a newlywed at this point. Just married my wife. We just had our first kid. And she thinks I'm totally bugging out. She has no idea what's going on with me. I'm sitting there 8 hours a day with all these different books. I had the Quran, I had the JPS Tanakh, I had a few versions of the Christian Bible, and I'm going there 8 hours a day. This is what I was doing with my life, right? After being Mr. Rap King, right? This is what I'm doing. So she thinks I flipped out. She has no idea what's going on. Half the books are in English, half of them in hieroglyphics for all she cares. She has no idea what she knows what Hebrew is. So I'm sitting over there 8 hours a day trying to find the truth. And all of a sudden, I realized something. I'm missing somebody in my life. I need a rabbi. I have no rabbi. So I went to rabbigoogle.com. rabbigoogle.com paskind all my shaylas. I went to him for all my questions. And I'm starting to really flip out over the things that I'm learning. I'm starting to figure out that, well, Christmas is nowhere in the Bible. I thought it was in the Bible. It's not in the Bible. Okay, well, Easter's also not in the Bible. Where did this come from? How did it start? Oh, this is pagan. What is a pagan? All these things that start to go into. And I started to notice something that was even deeper than that. I started reading the Navi again, the prophets. And I'm seeing this relationship between God and the Jewish people. Now, by the way, you should know what makes the Jewish book so authentic. What makes us the people of the book, right? The whole thing is about us spurring up. There's no, everybody else's book is about, everybody's being so great, and whoever they hold in high esteem was the greatest and always the greatest or whatever. Our book, everybody screws up. The king of Israel, he screws up. The prophet we have, everybody messes up. The whole nation messes up. And it's just a whole entire book of chance after chance after chance of Hashem saying to the Jewish people, I will never leave you, no matter how far you are, no matter how in the dumps. Yes, you're going to get punished. After that, I'm going to bring you back, and I'm going to bring you closer to me than you've ever been before. And I'm reading this as an outsider going, God, this is no fair. I This is absolutely no fair. I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this. And I'm studying. My wife is studying now. First she thought I was crazy. Then I brought her in on my side. And my wife's sister starts dating my best friend. And before you know it, all of us are married. Baruch Hashem, we're all on this journey together. So me, my wife, my sister-in-law, and my best friend since kindergarten, all converted to Judaism on the same day. We had a double wedding. This all happened in Seattle. And we all made Aliyah to Israel about 6 years ago. Baruch Hashem. So that's just my story. I want to open it up for questions. I didn't want to leave any major punchlines. But thank you guys so much already for sitting quiet.